semdol kake mo faseda.
Welcome to Talking in Stations podcast. This podcast is recorded live on Twitch, 1500 Universal Time. I am Matterall from Imperium News. Playing online games with other people is a blast, but also revealing. When we do it, we learn about ourselves and what kind of people we are in different situations. On screen, we are just avatars and ships, but behind every illustrated face is a person. And given enough time together, we bond, forming a community. Eve has a great community. Some of the most intelligent, creative, and charismatic players play Eve. But if there's one overriding characteristic that Eve players have, it's generosity. This is seen every day in every time zone. Someone will lose a ship or all their wealth, and a community member will step forward and hear about it and say, here, let me get you back on your feet, either with some advice or with a little bit of ISK or wealth. When Eve players pass away in the unfortunate circumstances, the players will actually form together and do a memorial of some sort. Sometimes it's a Rome, sometimes a vigil. The kindness is shown from the real world, but it takes the game to actually bring us together. On a larger scale, CCP calls upon us as players to help relief efforts for global disasters in the form of Plex. The Plex are converted to real money and sent to agencies that are helping victims of earthquakes, floods, or famine. These campaigns are called Plex for Good and have generated hundreds of thousands of dollars in relief aid. This is the community that has embraced the charitable efforts of Care for Kids, founded by today's player guest, C4W3 of Reikoku Corporation. Due to long-term health issues, C4 is in and out of the hospital. During his stays, he noticed that there were many kids and young adults that were bored, so he introduced them to Eve. They showed an interest, so C4 set out to collect Plex and ISK on behalf of those kids, ages 14 to 20. The donations were supposed to be items that players didn't use and were going to discard or were sitting there in hangars. So he asked them to package them up, and that is Plex, plugins, ISK, and the donations were packaged up and distributed. And it was reported that over 300 kids from four different countries played Eve under this program. C4 also created a corporation at the same time called Care for Kids Empire. That was a place for the kids to get organized and put themselves before they flew off to join other alliances. It's always supposed to be a starter alliance. After the Casino War, or World War B, C4 and his friend Iron Bank decided to build a Keepstar in the system of Mela. Together with Shut Up and Shave and Lenny Kravitz, too, they funded this effort, but it took volunteers to help mine the minerals needed. The Keepstar was completed, and security was guaranteed by Pandemic Legion when it was put down. An old friend, Pfeiffer, gave Care for Kids some space in the drone lands in addition to the Keepstar. It was these two efforts, building the Keepstar with Pandemic Legion using it to sell supers, and the acquisition of space. And a third thing, the making of the New Eden Trade Company, initiative by Lenny Kravitz. These things brought suspicion and rebuke from the Imperium. The Mittani repeatedly rebuked and cast doubts on Care for Kids' authenticity. Now others have joined in, claiming that Care for Kids is really just a front for PL or Russian renters. Even more confusing was the removal of RKK, that's Reikoku, from Pandemic Legion. Today, we'll try to get to the facts behind many of these rumors. Care for Kids, are they angels or devils? Today on Talking in Stations. Welcome, everybody. Before we talk charities, let's get to some Eve news and analysis with Dirk McGurk and Tiberius, who is at Eve London. First, let's say hi, Dirk.
Hey, what's going on? Good to see you. How you feeling?
I've got a cold. That's why I'm
Yeah, you do.
Sniffly. And Tiberius, do we still have you there at Eve London? I'm going to assume he's drunk and under a chair of some sort. All right. Well, he'll pop on in just a second.
I'm here.
Are you?
I am here. Hi, it's Tamir Stargazer, editor of Eve News 24, editor-in-chief at Eve NT, member of Northern Coalition in Destructive Influence Corporation. And I'm here live from Eve London.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're all over the world. All right. Let's do some headlines before we get into our topic of the day. Let's just start with some dev blogs. Looks like there's 3 of them. New player experience is going to be tuned up or has been. There was a dev blog on the bugs actually the story of one bug that got squashed. In other words, some repair to the game that they tracked and then told you how that worked. And probes are actually being reworked, and I believe those have been released in the game, those changes, through the patch note YC119.2, which is kind of funny. There's 2 things I wanted to ask. One is, they're naming the patches after the in-game year, right?
It's a combination, of the in-game year, and then the point 2 would be the number. So in this case, the second release of the year. So it has nothing to do with the month or anything like that.
Okay, I didn't know that. Yeah, because it got released in February. It was 2.
Yeah, and like right now, that's what it looks like. But then if it goes beyond a month, or there were 2 that happen to fall, well, no, it would be if one didn't. So at the end of the year, you'll see that it doesn't match up with with that.
And they already came out and said, hey, we're not going to have as many dev blogs as we used to, because this is definitely, last year was the lowest dev blogs we've had, I believe. But they said, well, we don't use dev blogs exclusively anymore to get news out. Now we use different mediums like the 07 show and, I don't actually know what the other ones were, but they mentioned a few. So don't be alarmed. They're still working on the game. Don't be alarmed.
They are, but I'm going to be honest. I think that dev blogs are sort of a core thing that I think that they need to have. But then again, that is also coming from somebody who literally prints out the CSM minutes on paper. So
that's like 50 pages.
I had my wife do it at work, but I
you better.
I'm not wasting my ink, man. But I do like to kind of read a hard copy, or if I can't, I like to read a hard copy, but I certainly want to be able to read something, not just have a video that's sort of reading it to me. Because if I want to refer back to something, I maybe only want to refer back to a single line or a single quote from it, and that's a little bit harder to do when you've got to go rewatch a video to sort of pull that back out.
Yeah, and you read all that, huh?
Hell no, I haven't read all that yet. I've actually read very little of it this past week, so it's not something I'll be able to get into too in depth.
Right, I am going to mute when I cough so you guys don't get blasted.
Nerd flu.
Yeah, speaking of nerd flu, how's it going over there in Eve London? That must be like you guys are all vectors for diseases, right?
Yeah, I'm very cautious of like when I get a slightly sweaty handshake, whether or not it's like going to infect me with something horrible. Because every time I do go to one of these meets, I'm always getting infected with something. So,
I believe the last one wiped you out.
Yeah. I actually got Icelandic death flu big time last time. So, I also introduced my brother in name, but not to be confused with General Stargazer. Say hello.
Hey, General Stargazer, how are you? Yeah, getting confused?
Good. Well, double Stargazer, it's the way forward.
Double Stargazer.
That's awesome. Nice talking to you. So, one of the other news items I wanted to get to was one of our art directors, Ray Zorian, did a deep field image, and you might be able to see that on screen. But we, luckily enough, found out that he's hanging out with Tiberius there in Eve London. So, how's it going, Razorian?
Yeah, in fact, actually, Razorian is here in Eve London, so I'm going to find him.
You lost him? Okay.
I lost it.
That's all right. Where'd you find him? Put him on the radio.
There we go. Found it. Here he is. Putting the headphone in his ear now. There we go. This is, here we go, Razorian. This is Matt Raw and Talking Stations.
Hi, Razorian. How are you?
It's very hard to hear. It's a noisy pub. We're having a good time, downing lots of pints, and yeah, just tons and tons of.
Tell us about that picture. How'd you make it, and how big was it?
How big? How did you make the picture, and what was the process you went through to make it?
Oh, it's quite a long process. It's a lot of steps. When I started out, all I had my gallery of images and kind of nothing else. So I had to build. First thing I had to do was build lots of tools to download all my artwork from Flickr. I needed to crop it all into squares. I needed to make some more code to kind of make a kind of. It's very hard to explain. There's if you want to know exactly how it's made, I've made a write-up of it on the Eve Scout forums, where you can read all the little steps I had to take. It's a lot of steps. It took in total about 3 to 4 weeks, where I had to do basically nothing else with my evenings because I have a kid and limited time to spend on this stuff. I needed to spend about 3 to 4 weeks to make this, and but I think the result is really worth it. It became something unique. It's really appreciated by a lot of people, and I'm very happy about all the positive response I've gotten.
Yeah, it's amazing. How big was that file when you finished with it?
How big was the file when you finished with it?
The file with layers is about 80 gigs, and the file completely flat with nothing else in it, and the composite image is about 50 gigs.
Wow, amazing. Great. Well, hopefully we see it up at FanFest somewhere. Thanks, Rosaria. Nice to talk to you.
Thank you very much. I'm looking forward to see everyone at FanFest.
Good. All right. And so, again, Tiberius is at EVE London, which was formerly called the Veto Player Meet. I didn't realize that, but Veto was a pirate corp in the early days of EVE Online that was run by Verone. And Verone turned into CCP Falcon after he joined CCP. And he's been there quite a while now. So it's amazing to see that grow into such a big event. Like, how many people would you say are there, Tiberius?
There are, at the moment in time, there is probably about 50, 60 people here. As the evening goes on, we will expect maybe in excess of 100 people, 150. I think the largest event we had was a year or so ago during the summer, which is generally when more people arrive, and there was in excess of 200 people.
Wow.
Is Wiggles there?
Yeah, it's a big old event because people, it's totally free. It's just like your traditional, let's all turn up and have a pub meet, and people turn up and just, have a good time. There's no tickets, no nothing, so people just show up.
Oh, that's awesome.
We've even got like a few people from America here so far. There's like a couple of guys in NC from America. We had Celine as well, who came over from Vegas last time as well. So
he lives in Germany, though, right?
That's right. So
not to out him. Oops.
No, he lived in Germany. He flew out to Vegas, did Vegas, came back on the weekend for EVE London, was here for the weekend for EVE London, and then flew back to Germany. Like, the jet lag must have been real, seriously.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. If you find people, interrupt us and we'll say hi.
I have Dimitri Slavik, who's one of the organisers of the event as well. He could probably tell you a bit more about the history.
Is he right there?
He stood right next to me right now.
Oh, yeah. Ask him how long it's been going.
11 years.
11 years. Oh, that's amazing. Were you part of Veto?
I was, yes, back in the day before it closed.
Yeah. So are you expecting as many as last year this time?
Not as many as we had in November. Yeah, we had like 500 people in November. We're probably expecting around 100 to 150 in February. It tends to be a quieter meet.
Oh, yeah. Well, do you want to say hello to anyone?
Hi, everybody.
All right, thanks. Okay, we're going to move on to CSM minutes. Tiberius, if you're there, you can chime in if you like. But Dirk, you read over
Yeah,
some
I
of the
think
minutes.
I might kill my mobile phone data bandwidth or something.
Oh, should we say goodbye?
So yeah, I'll call it quits from East London. But you know, if you're there's still time to come down. These nerds party till late. So you know, if you're in London area right this moment and you want to come down after the show finishes, then feel free to come down and party with the rest of us.
All right, Tiberius, take care of yourself there. Don't get the nerd flu.
I might get it. I've got the wipes this time, so maybe that will help. So,
right,
goodbye, guys. Take care.
Take care. See you later, Tiberius.
I mean, I don't have anything, really specific to say on these. Like I said, I have not gotten in too deep, especially on some of the longer, on some of the longer ones. I went through kind of just picking for stuff. Obviously, I wanted to hear something about moon mining and drilling platforms and things like that, right? But the entire section is NDA'd, is redacted. We're waiting on a dev blog, a legit dev blog to come out on that, to give us any sort of insight into where that's going initially. From what I've heard, from various CSM, they were pleasantly I don't know, happy about what it was they were hearing. So at least there's that kind of aspect of it. That is for me, that is the big giant thing that was what related to this particular this particular summit. All of the other stuff, I don't know, it wasn't what it wasn't necessarily what I was like diving to go see. I did want to go see what the origins of the issue over the monthly economic report with getting rid of regional data in some ways.
That was the dramatic news that came out of nowhere, right? But it wasn't really like anything big during the CSM meeting.
No, and that's just it. Is that news kind of came out and became sort of this big drama thing out there. So I was hoping that there would be a section in here that really dealt with it, and really what there was basically just a short paragraph that went into sort of Aerith's proposal, or Aerith's reasoning behind it. Apparently it noted some head nods from other CSM members, and then that's it. So I mean, there was no big story behind it buried within the minutes.
Right.
But so I haven't really gotten into into these things too deep yet to be able to like comment on the various things. I mean, I skip things like web services and stuff like that. It doesn't interest me. But
well, I think web services actually had a little bit of interesting stuff, because I think they're going to try to converge 3 or 4 different sites into one. Actually, to pull that number out of the air, but it's I think there are 3 or 4 different websites for Eve,
and that makes absolute sense, right? I mean, because trying to find some of this stuff, you're skipping around out there. They could certainly do a better job of that. I just don't know that it's necessarily super high in my agenda. But my boy CCP Avalon is part of the web services team, so So fix that shit, Avalon.
Well, I think they were. One thing that struck me was they were not going to have an RSS feed, and I thought, oh, I must be dated, because that's still something that I use. You can attach that to, you can attach that to Slack, and then draw in news, so you have a constant news feed of what's going on in Eve while you're in that program. But whatever. So the CSM minutes are out. They have been out for a few days now. Worth reading, but they're like 50 pages of what goes on. They're actually very brief, little bullet points on what goes on in those meetings, and it's kind of illuminating. You can see the personalities of the CSM kind of come out. You can see what issues they care about, and that sort of stuff. And it is very good if you want to inform yourself on who to vote for as far as incumbents go. Which reminds me,
yeah, it does. It does help for something like that. Which is if you're trying to get a glimpse into a candidate, especially for incumbents, it makes it easier because you do have minutes that you can refer back to say, what has this person what did they say in this summit? does it sound like they're representing the topics that you thought they would? Whereas with with new people out there, you don't even have that. It
Yeah.
goes into the whole transparency thing, right? That there's just voter information. How do you create informed voters? Well, it's very difficult when there's almost no information to go on about these people.
Yeah, and they can't really say what they did or didn't do. So yeah, so that works out. And speaking of which, we want to actually have some interviews with CSM candidates this year. Normally, we don't do this because it's just it was taken care of by CSM Watch very well in the past, and other people are jumping in to kind of fill the void as well. But we will be probably one of those groups doing it. So I have an open call to any CSM candidate that wants to be interviewed. I will take some time out, interview them myself, 30 minutes or so. But I was thinking we should do it in a hostile way so that it's a little bit more, not on purpose, but just so that it's a little bit more engaging than the usual. This is my platform and this is what I want to do. So other things in the news are that, is it escalating entropy that is broken up or cascaded? Am I wrong about that? There's a couple
No,
groups.
it's E, right?
EE?
Escalating entropy.
Yeah.
Folded, I guess.
Mm-hmm. And that is our guest. Let me just introduce you now. We'll just get started. This is C4W3. He is the CEO of Reikoku and the founder of Care for Kids, and also one of the active members of the New Eden Trade Company. Welcome to the show. C4, how are you?
I'm good. Family sick. Besides that, I'm pleased to be here to
Oh.
straighten some questions marks out.
Yeah, well, I can sympathize with your family. I hope they get better soon.
You need to
Yeah,
care
no
for your
worries.
kids.
You need to care for your kids.
There we go, buddy. There we go.
All right. Yeah, so let's get started with the core of the show and talk about Care for Kids. Why don't you tell us a little bit about it? Oh, first I want to ask something about you. What does your name mean, C4W3?
It started a very, very long time ago. As you may know, I'm working as a security programmer, and I was doing some hacking back when I was younger. So I created this nick called C4 from the beginning. And then I added V3 because of the internet provider V3. So that became like a thing back then. And then I just stuck to it because it sounded funny.
So V is W for you, right?
Yeah.
In Europe, okay. So you say it's C4V3.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's cool. And you're Swedish by background?
I am. I'm actually born in Italy, but my parents moved to Sweden back in the day. And I'm living in the middle of the Baltic Sea, close to Russia. So go Putin.
Wow. Well, he's popular these days, so you're in a good place.
He is, even by your president.
Right. Yeah, that I asked if you were Swedish because that kind of comes into play a little bit later on, because you were in a Swedish corporation when you first started playing Eve, right?
That is correct. Me and a couple of other Swedes, Kriba bought the game for me because I couldn't get it where I was living. So we joined a corporation called Svea Rike.
Okay, I won't pretend to know how to spell that, but so he bought the game for you. Did you know him before the game then?
Oh yeah, we were part of the same computer science group since like back in the 1990s, and then as time went by, he was back then. I mean, we didn't have internet in that manner, so he was one of the first that I knew that actually got like a really good, fiber, not fiber, but ASDL. So I took my car up there and drove off a server for us to storage our programs and shit on. And then while that died out and we got more involved in Eve, I went towards the Pirate Way and joined RKK and created Corp 1. And then we roamed the world for very many years. And yeah, it's been fun.
You've been playing since when?
Beta.
Yeah, so you're one of the original players.
Yep.
And Cribbit comes up later when we talk about the New England Trade Company. I'm sorry, New Eden Trade Company. But yeah, so a little bit more about you. So you've been playing since beta. You went into RKK, which is a very storied corp. We'll talk about them a little bit later. And you basically were in and out of the hospital because of your own health issues. And so tell us how that came to be and how that turned into Care for Kids.
Well, it was more of a mistake than any, thing that was planned, because like I was attending hospital every 2 weeks because I was like suffering from chronic kidney failure because of like diabetes and shit. And then since I have like old injury where I was like missing a lung, I couldn't get a transplant because like, one lung is like less, good or easier to die, I guess. So I was like attending hospitals every 2 weeks. So they had this. Normally, I brought my laptop, but they had like a stationary computer, so I installed Eve on that, and then I, played some Eve when I was like bored and shit. So later, when I attended back at the same ward, I saw the game was updated, and when I was like logging in, I saw a different, email address and stuff and a username. So I just put a, flyer on the like a board on the wall and said, "Is anyone playing EVE Online here?" And then after a couple of days, 3-4 kids, teens, I guess they were like 15, 16, said that they were playing EVE, and we started talking. And then from there, it just roller coaster, escalator, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, escalated.
Mm-hmm.
Can we just clear something up just real quick? In the Care for Kids, can you please describe the age level of the kids so that people understand that we're not talking about 5-year-olds here?
Oh, no. In Sweden, there's this thing where you attend hospitals, like really big hospitals. You don't have like a specific ward for, people like myself that are like attending hospitals. So my choice was either being on a ward where there are like 80, 90-year-olds dying, or at a teen ward where the age is between like 12 to 24. Because in Sweden, you get, shipped into like a kids ward until you're 24. So the age between, the Care for kids that we play with are, 12 to, 24 or above.
Right. So if you're imagining Care for Kids being 5-6-year-olds playing Eve, that's not the case.
No, we follow the PEGI rule set also.
What's that? What are those, PEGI?
Well, normally when you rate a game, you rate it like PEGI 12 or PEGI 16 or PEGI whatever.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
And that's what we follow.
All right. So we'll just. Is it legitimate? I mean, are you a fundraising mechanism, or are you an actual charity?
We're actually a charity. We created Care for Kids as you have to remember that I knew nothing about this. I had no clue about how to do anything, besides, talking and being nice to people, spreading the love. So I sat down with the local communicator at our church on the northern parts of my island, which is called Gotland. And she said that, okay, here's the deal. This is what we're going to do. We have the, the offices, and we have the people, and we have the ways of communicate with hospitals and other entities. So Care for Kids was created as part of the Northern Gotland's parish.
So it's religiously affiliated then.
It is in some way, but you have to understand that in Sweden we're a Lutheran church. So church for us is more or less like, I don't know, you
Rebellion?
going to the pub. Yeah, you going to the pub. We have like no like specific religious affiliation besides like me being member of the church. So
but it helped to organize with them.
Yeah, I mean they provide all the necessary paperwork and the information that's needed for doing, for example, like transactions or giveaways, or for example in Easter I've been fighting for this for 3 years. We are gonna have a local area network computer gaming center in the biggest medieval church on my island, with like
Wow.
50 Care for Kids. And this is the first time in Sweden the church actually opened up a medieval church for, you know, gaming and stuff, for whatever computer stuff. So we have 2 local companies providing all the network stuff, cables and connections and hubs and shit. And then besides that, we just gonna have some fun and enjoy ourselves.
Let me, one of the things that I think has always been kind of an issue with with regard to the whole Care for Kids operation and some of the shit that's said about it out there, is it a lot of these things tend to get lumped together. So what I'd kind of like to see or to what came first, the Care for Kids in-game charity. Okay, and I'm air quoting when I say in-game charity, because we know that we're not saying that that is a legal entity. Or did the out of game thing come first, where it was tied in with the Lutheran Church kind of under that umbrella?
That came first. The out of game part came first.
The
And
out of game thing came first.
yeah, the thing is that Care for Kids in game was created more or less like a get together thing. We had no plans and we had no ideas. We said, let's create an alliance called Care for Kids, and that's what we did.
Yeah, okay. And the alliance is like this other thing out there. When I first met you, okay, it was in regard to Care for Kids taking ISK donations and other things to create the care packages.
Oh, that is correct. Yeah,
Okay.
that was about the same time, Dirk. I can't like separate the both, because that was pretty much the same time that both was created, when we were starting
So-
doing the care packages.
So I
Right.
assume that you're bringing in these players, you're bringing in these kids to play. They got to land somewhere. So you made the corporation, the alliance, so that they could kind of group up and be together initially.
Yeah, pretty much.
You weren't you weren't drafting kids in to acquire power. Were you?
No, not at all. I have enough power as it is. If you consider Eve power.
Yeah. No, I'm totally being facetious, but it's basically a place to give them to land and to kind of organize themselves and orient themselves. That sort
Yeah,
of thing.
the first corps actually that kids were joining was actually Pandemic Horde and Karma Fleet, I think. Those were the 2 main, and Red versus Blue. Some went to Signal Cartel. I mean, the entity as it is, we had like no plans whatsoever for it. We just wanted to create something, you know, like a platform where, you know, if you want to do stuff with me, like personally, and hang out on our TeamSpeak and stuff, you can like join that and be part of that. But if you don't want to, I mean, there's kids that I met like 1 or 2 times that, you know, I wouldn't say despite me, but they don't, you know, they just want to do their thing, and now they're part of, you know, another entity. I don't know, CO2 or test. I don't know.
So one more thing on the kids thing. They start out between say 14 and 20, and do they graduate if they get better, that sort of thing, and or do they?
No, not at all.
How attached are they? Like,
Not at all. Not at all. I provide the community and the help that they need. When, you know, there were like a subscription fee, and there still is, but with the alpha clones and stuff, we can much easier, you know, forge players into doing whatever they want to do and become self-sufficient. Because like the main goal was to make them self-sufficient, and most of them are. So therefore, we stopped taking donations about a year and a half ago, in-game donations, because we didn't see any need for it at all. We had people like Dirk and you know, other streamers, etc., that was like really, you know, probably the crossing point or whatever you call it, for actually, you know, Care for Kids becoming a thing, because it was like really hard making care packages and, you know, making it work in game for kids. But I mean, as time progressed and, you know, as we got, you know, situated, most of them got self-sufficient, and I mean, I'm super happy about it. And I mean, on a side note, I mean, we've verified everything. I mean, I double check everything before I do anything. So I mean, CCP Falcon clearly stated that Care for Kids Alliance or Care for Kids anything in game is to be considered as any other, you know, corporation or alliance in game. So, and then, you know, because I don't know, some people have a hard time understanding or just aren't smart enough, thinks that it's, you know, something that we ride upon or whatever.
Well, we'll get to that in a second. The last question I have is: this isn't just kids with cancer, because that's one of those things they say out there that's
No, it's ready.
it's inflammatory. So.
Yeah, it comes from you guys. I mean, to be
Yeah.
honest, I mean,
Well, I don't say that, but it comes
no,
from
but yeah, from Imperium, or
Imperium
whatever.
News, led by Matani, Imperium News, and Goonswarm, really.
Yeah, and I mean, to be honest, I mean, this I don't know what's her name is. She posted about the Bernjita.
I want to be clear, because I don't think Carnero says that. Like,
Well, that when she posted that, and I mean, Rive actually approached me to come to my island and visit us, and you know, visit Care for Kids
Riva.
at my local parish, River or whatever she's called. I don't know her name.
Yeah, Riva, one of the editors at INN. Mhm.
Yeah. So, and
That was my idea, by the way.
Yeah.
Well, because you know, I'm gonna be serious here, okay? Because when this stuff was being said out there, okay, there are no kids, you know, there are no cancer kids. This is a scam, all this kind of stuff, right? I said to Reaver, I said, how far are you from there? Is there any chance? I said, I want somebody to lay eyes on this operation and either dispel all of this and call bullshit on what's being said, you know, or say, you know what, we can't find anything, whatever, you know. And so I'm hoping that she can make it there, because I am so sick and tired of things that are being called scams, if in fact they are not.
Yeah, and I'm the first one to more than, you know, welcome her to our house, and she can stay over the weekend and shit, and we can, I don't know, play baseball or whatever. But I mean, yeah, on the side note, I mean, I have no problem. I've been in the game for such a long time, so I know, you know, that there's always people, you know, saying this and that, and you know, being cautious. And I mean, me and Goons has like a really strained or whatever friendship or whatnot. But I mean, at the end of the day, that's just a game. And I mean, for me, I mean, we don't only play EVE Online. You know, we're part of a lot of other communities also. And what actually strikes me is that, you know, however toxic the environment are, there's always someone that you can, you know, sit down and have a chat with, and you know, and they go like, oh well, you're doing a good job, dude. And I mean, for example, I would, when we had the barbecue this summer and Mimic and Larkin was over, I would, you know, consider that as a good proof that we're a legit organization.
They legitimized you, CCP?
No.
Mm-hmm. I misunderstood what you said then.
No,
but
we're
why?
just having a bro.
Oh, okay. So you had a, but see, that's the thing. Why CCP, would they ever acknowledge this is a legitimate charity, and can it protect you with their endorsement? Is there any way that would happen?
Nope.
And why is that? Because you do other games as well, or is that just something you haven't even tried with them?
We have tried it, and it was actually on the table, and we sent all the paperwork to CCP, but CCP Falcon, I think it was, and the only charity or charitable work that they do is with Plex for Good, and they won't use any other means for that, and I respect that.
Yeah. Well, it is Eve, and you know, they could have endorsed Olivia, and look what that would have put them.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, that wasn't far.
Yeah.
I mean, take that into consideration. I mean, that was as close as it gets when it came to actually, you know, fucking shit up really bad.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, well,
in the beginning there were
in the beginning
there were a Dirk.
Yeah, exactly. There was the initial, I'll call it, care package thing. Okay, what exactly is the need for the out of game organization that is attached to the Lutheran Church? Because I've got to say, I've never heard you I've never heard you ask for real money or anything like that.
Nope.
So what is the purpose of needing to be under that charitable umbrella? What is it that's going on out there?
Well, it's fairly simple. We were approached pretty early about donations to the in real life thing, as in computers, screens, laptops, and so on and so forth. And then Jorg from I can't Dreklas.
Someplace.
Dreklas. You know him, right?
Yep.
His company called. It doesn't matter what his company is called, but they donated 2 laptops when I was attending G Fleet and held a speech there. So they gave us 2 laptops, and then G Fleet themselves gave us 2 Oculus Rift, and that kind of brought us into another because we were looking for transparency, and we were looking for a good way of communicating what was gifted to us and where we were gifting stuff. So only on Imperium News, my friends. We were later approached by a donor, anonymous donor that actually are Eve player, and he wanted to say this. Hold on.
I can hear the paper ruffling from his.
Yeah, I'm sorry
as he
about
pulls it out
that.
of his pocket.
Yeah. No, what actually happened, I wasn't intended to like leak this or talk about this, but I kind of feel that it doesn't really matter since it's going public in a couple of days. Care for
Breaking
Kids.
news.
Yeah, breaking news at 7. Well, Care for Kids was of course, started by me and everything, and then by making the friendship or having the friendship that I had with several people in game, we this person started to look at Care for Kids if it was like legit, of course, because Reddit is the thing, and this person also had a long conversation with me and a couple of other people that's like super important, I guess. And he later decided to, after investigating this, to donate for Alienware laptops to Care for Kids. And then in addition to that, helping out creating and applying for a 501.3c charity status in the US, where we will be starting to work with hospitals in Portland, Oregon in late 2017.
Oh. So you're in 4 countries now. Is this the 5th country?
It is, my friend. And he actually represents a really big company / thing. So they're giving Care for Kids a $20,000 annuity every year to do whatever they want to in the United States. And yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow.
So despite all the in-game criticism, you're not stopping your efforts.
No, not at all. Why would I? I mean, I see smiles on teens' faces every day pretty much, and I work with this. When we wrote the rules for Care for Kids, me and my wife put it in writing and also sent that papers in that no one would ever make any money out of Care for Kids, either in the Care for Kids company or whatever, or in any other way. So everything that we do out of our own pockets or which means that no one can ever make any money out of this.
Now, with regard to the operation that will be in Oregon, will that be you managing it somehow, or will you have a local person?
No, I'm looking for someone in the US to help with this. I've been talking to quite a bit with John McClain from Best of Us, and also how to tie that together, because the vet program is something that are very warm to my heart. and I was trying to tie that together, but without a 501, it's almost impossible to do anything charitable in the United States.
His group would be called the Best of Us, which is
Correct. Which is a wonderful community, and they're like the best of the best. God bless.
You're not
them.
just saying that because he's in the audience there in chat, are you? You're not playing to the audience, are you? I'm just kidding.
Oh no, I'm actually playing World of Warcraft while I'm talking to you, dude.
Oh, I'm glad we have your full attention.
No, I'm just kidding. So with that being said, this is kind of a really big thing for us, because something on Reddit that comes up very often is that, oh my God, you got like a laptop donated to kids, and like RMT sucks, and like RMT is bad and stuff. For me, or for me and my wife, being donated a laptop is like that's like beyond our wildest dreams, because we were making in real life care packages with fruit and sweets and, you know, self-printed cards and shit. So for us, it's a great thing. And if someone thinks that, you know, donating one laptop to like a hospital or whatever is a bad thing, then, you know, my only, you know, word for that is like, you know, get your shit straight.
Yeah. I was hoping you'd say it in Swedish so we wouldn't get censored. That's fine. No. So you did get a laptop donated to you, or to a hospital. Which one?
Well, we got 2 laptops donated from Reckless and his corporation. One went to Oxford, the Oxford Children's Ward, and the other one went to our local hospital here, including 1 Oculus Rift each.
So it's not like these things landed on your desk?
No.
Okay.
Since I work for one of, you know, the world's largest computer companies, I have more computers than I ever will need.
That's not something you worry about, right? Getting a laptop.
Yeah.
I see. All right. Well, what actually seems to have kind of caused some confusion is how you got involved with a Keepstar. You want to explain that?
Yeah, it was fairly simple. I mean, back in the day when the internet casinos was a thing, I've been like in real life friends with Daniel, Ironbank, for a very long time, which was a really big part of iWantDisc, and also I've been friends with Lenny Kravitz too, and we've been friends in game for like forever, since he started.
So for the audience, Ironbank is someone who had a gambling type show on Twitch, and was affiliated with iWantISC, and he's also the person that bought so many injectors that he got his character up to max skills on every skill in the game. You can imagine how much money runs through this guy, and he was one of the financiers, along with Lenny Kravitz and Eep, of the what I call the Casino War. And so instantly, the Casino War is what puts the Imperium on their back heels, taking away its territory in the north. And this is all part of the in-game process. So instantly, those people are venom to Imperium, and this is Imperium's news channel, so you can see the conflict there. So that's just the relationships behind the scene. Go ahead and continue.
But then again, this is kind of, you know, not really related. But then again, what actually happened with, you can call it whatever you want, the Casino War or World War B, or I don't really care. But if you were to sit down and have a beer with, you know, everyone participating in World War B, that was the most content generating thing that ever happened in EVE since 2007. If you look at the game right now, it's more stagnate than 2007, and it's about to like literally go into hibernation if you compare it to 2010. So out of a content factor, if this would have been Imperium paying, you know, whoever to attack PL or NC or whatever, what we're looking for in game is content, and however that content is generated. I mean, for one, I couldn't care less, and I know for a fact that Lenny or Ian don't care either that they shut down casinos, because that was a menace, you know, and everyone was aware that that was going to be shut down sooner or later.
I forgot to mention that they weren't just shut down. The gambling sites weren't necessarily shut down. They were banned for any gambling, or sorry, not gambling, but games of chance and rewards of in-game items were banned from the game. But those two in particular were also banned from the game. So
That is actually incorrect because Iron Bank wasn't banned. He was banned under the TOS using Eve as a business model in Twitch, and he can actually play Eve Online still, and he does. And Lenny Kravitz was the only one that I think is still pending investigation. So you might see
Right.
him again.
because these things take time to
Yeah.
to appeal. Yeah, and sometimes often, I don't know often, but sometimes get overturned.
Very much so. Very true.
So you guys built a Keep Star in Mela, right? It's a low-sec system for the Forge, which is a very popular system.
We wanted to build the first low sec Keepstar, and Iron Bank said that himself and Lenny was going to sponsor, and Suez was going to build it for us. So they did, and we deployed it, and it's been there ever since.
Suez is another name for Shut Up and Shape. He was one of
Yeah.
the founders of Goonswarm, who lately, I would say in the last 2 years, has split off from them. And there's some more animosity between him and leadership of the Imperium. So just to round out, this is kind of an enemies list for Imperium, which shows you why a lot of the anger comes from Matan in the Imperium. However founded or not, they may have some information that we don't, but all we know is what he says publicly. Yeah, is that a PL? Is that backed by PL? What's PL's involvement in that in general?
PL has never ever been involved in anything that has anything to do with either Care for Kids or NetC. We actually rented PL for the deployment of.
So you had to pay.
Yeah, like everyone else, and that's also a misunderstanding because Leonard Kalkin and Elise and Graf made it very clear from the get-go that this could at some point become a conflict of interest. So we, after our conversation, we said that whatever people say, as long as we're straight with it, and for PL and NetC and Care for Kids, there hasn't ever been a problem, and I think there never will, because I mean, whoever wants to shoot us can shoot us.
Is NetC a New Eden trade company?
Yeah, correct.
Is that what you call it? Okay. I see. So, all right, Dirk, do you have anything else on this?
No, I was just kind of, I didn't know that PL was hired to. I'm not even. I wasn't with PL at the time, and I'm not with PL now. But I didn't know that they had to actually,
Pay?
pay. You know what I mean? It's like,
You know,
damn.
Did you get a discount at least?
Damn, Grath, you can't even throw a little charity protection.
I know.
I know, right?
We just
And
have
that's
to keep, we have to keep up the Chinese wall between.
Yeah, but with friends like Iron Bank, like why would you give him a discount on anything? He's
get you a free pass.
Yeah, trillions and
and
trillions.
I mean, there's like the amount of casino money was insane, and I mean, I would say that we're suffering from post-casino depression in Eve right now. It kind of sounds funny, but it's actually very true. Because the amount of money that was flowing through both the Imperium and also because you had gamblers in Imperium also, my friend.
Oh, I know. Yeah, SMA was gambling on Iwan Isk while they're getting destroyed by Iwan Isk mercenaries.
Yeah, that was hilarious,
So
dude.
they're funding their own demise.
Yeah, it was like really weird. But I mean, at the same time, you can't ever, if someone comes up to you and says, "Oh, hey, dude, I'm gonna give you 500 billion to, shoot this shit," of course you do it because it's in game and you need the in-game ISK for it.
Yeah. Well, all that is very interesting, and there is kind of what's interesting to me is how hard hit the because we work in the media, the Eve media, which is we report Eve News mostly. Among other games, but Eve News 24 and Crossing Zebras and a number of other places, maybe even streamers, all seem very affected by this, more so than I even expected.
They are. I'm like personally sponsoring a couple of both streamers and also some Eve medias with hundreds of billions a month just to keep it going, because you guys are doing such amazing work. And if we didn't have the Eve Media, even Imperium Eve Media, though you're controlled like fucking Goering in the 1940s. It's a good thing. I mean, Eve Media was actually create the community content, and that's what I'm all about. And I couldn't love it more.
Yeah, well, one of the ideas has always been, at least for me, and I think a lot of people that work at INN, because they're all really terrific people. I include Matani in that list. Want to give to players that are watching the game and are wondering if they should play it and stuff. And so a lot of the stuff, the reason I'm doing this with a cold and the reason Dirk woke up after doing his show last night is always giving back on a level that new people can try to engage and understand and be a part of the narratives that go on, which is really one of the exciting parts of the game.
Yeah, and I mean, you can take Care for Kids as example. We've been like working almost 4 months straight, sorting donations, legal documents, making sure like all paperwork being in order, and with this donation in the US. And this is something that we do, without any pay whatsoever. So it's very like the things you do.
Yeah, but you do something that's a lot more important, honestly, and if it's legitimate, it's very important, and it is. It sounds like it is. So, what I think what keeps you going must be the feedback that you get when you see the results of your work, right?
Yeah, both that. I see. I'm working very closely with a play therapist called Pia. She's actually one of the nurses doing the kids ward, and I mean, we don't see all the kids all the time because some actually passes away during the time. That was something that I thought I was prepared for, but what actually brought my attention to it and brought me into it, and the thing why I burned so hard for it was that, right before FanFest last year, they said that you won't make 2017. There's no chance in hell. So, with that being told and having, 5 kids and, a wife and, kind of brought to this different aspect for me looking at life. And if I can give anything back, and that necessarily don't need to be charitable work, but if I can give something back, that's amazing because I was like gifted life again, and that's something big for me.
Well, you made it 2017. We're glad to
Yeah. Yeah.
hear. Yeah, like I said, it's an amazing thing, the charity that comes out of Eve players and all around. Well, if there's anything else, I do want to say that Riva did contact you and was going to make a trip, which is pretty long for her, 6 hours or so, to kind of do, investigation. I wouldn't say investigation because that sounds kind of punitive, but she was going to look around and see and, kind of shore things up. But that fell through, right?
No, I don't think so. She was getting a passport because she didn't have a passport. So it's on her table.
It is. Okay. I'm not sure she's aware of that. We'll find out. All right. The other thing I wanted to ask you, because you're not Care for Kids is this amazing thing, but also you are the CEO of one of the most storied corporations in the entire game, which is Reikoku.
Mhm.
And I could go through a little bit of history of Reikoku, but my throat kind of hurts. So I'll just do a few bullet points, and then you can add in anything that I miss. But Reikoku means relentless in Japanese, and they were started in 2003, so it was an early corporation. They participated in the first major war, which would have been the Great Northern War against Phoenix Alliance, along with Evolution and Mu, or Masters of Onage. And you guys formed together what was called CCP Alliance for Cookies, Cake, and Pie. And there was some reasons for that. I think Evolution takes your cake or something, and RKK takes your cookies, and then and then Mu takes then Mu takes your pie from behind or something.
Yeah, exactly. We
Something
steal you
obscene.
blind.
Steal you blind. Something obscene. Sorry, didn't get the mute button fast enough. But what came out of that was really Evolution, RKK, Black Omega Corporation, and ATUC. ATUC is actually Destructive Influence DICE, and that's the corporation I belong to. And the 4 of you formed Bob, which was actually not named Band of Brothers, it turns out. It was just called Bob. because you were made to change your name from CCP Alliance.
Correct.
And it's funny because Bob is the name of the god inside of wormholes that demands blood. So
Yep.
I find an interesting parallel there. So that was Reikoku, and you guys eventually joined PL in 2013. PL was an enemy of Bob. They actually fought Bob and helped destroy Bob. So it's interesting that Reikoku went to Pandemic Legion, their enemy, when all the other alliances found their way into NC Dot again, which is the alliance that I belong to. So
There were some animosity between some corporations in NC Dot and Reikuku. That's
is
why.
that right? Which ones?
Well, no.
Do you remember?
Yeah, Finfleet.
Oh, Finfleet. Ah,
Yeah.
interesting. So RKK and Finfleet didn't get along?
Correct, sir.
Oh, that's interesting because they seem like the most benign members.
Yeah. But I mean, you know EV history, right? It's like, it's really strange and weird in so many ways.
And it's very personal in many ways. Like a lot of
Oh, it
decisions
is.
are
It
made.
is. It is for sure.
So tell us about RKK. What I miss?
Well, you kind of missed quite a bit. I mean, I joined RKK 3 years ago or something. And
Well, what's it been like
we
in the
were
last
in-
3 years?
Well, RKK kind of fell asleep about half a year ago when a lot of people went inactive. And I mean, a lot of people do in a lot of corporations. And
Especially
some
these
went
old
to other corps.
corporations.
Yeah, very much. And then they get reborn, at some point. But in PL, some people didn't agree with, the leadership at that time, and then went to other PL corps. And now lately, we kind of, since I love transparency, I just laid the cards on the table and said that, this is how the state of, RKK are, and this is where we're going. And then people made their choices, and most of them went into other PL corps. So right now there's pretty much just the core of RKK that was there before that's there now.
Mm-hmm. So, but there was some interesting movements that we were watching. Some players from people that you knew from way back in Swedish days, early Eve, who had Titans and these big ships moving into Reikoku, right?
Correct.
So what was going on there?
Well, it was a friend of mine called Red Elite. He was part of Corp 1 that I created back in 2003. And he also flew with the Conman and Tank CEO and Psychopath and all those oldies. And we kind of got together again, and they was looking for, another home because he was like the capital FC of CO2. And I brought them back into Reikuku.
Right. So they were jumping from CO2 to Pandemic Legion. How did that
Correct.
go over with PL?
Semi good, not perfect, but it's always like a work in progress.
Why was that a problem for them? These guys
Well,
had Titans.
Titans mean very little to nothing these days, my friend.
So it wasn't like a get in for free ticket.
No, not at all. That might have been a thing back in 2008, 7, something. But today, I mean, with the prices of Titans and Supers being below like 20 billion or whatever, I mean, even if you're part of Alliance, you can like build or buy a Titan for like 30 billion. So it's not a big thing anymore. Yeah. Do you want to buy a Titan?
I just got ripped off. Yeah. All right, I got to have some words with my guys that built one for me. But
yeah, definitely, because the build cost is down to 30 something 5-ish.
For a Titan, that's interesting. I didn't know it was that low.
Man, nothing more than a battleship these days.
Yeah,
there we go.
That's like a
And
few
I mean,
more.
yeah, and I mean,
Titans are the new battleships.
yeah, and also if you look at the current gameplay, I mean, Titans and Supers mean, as I said, little to nothing because they're like so hard and a goddamn effort to move around. So therefore, people focus on other shit like T3Ds, or even go back to like old doctrines like PL and also Imperium does, because it's simpler and creates content faster and generates more, more PvP.
Well, the thing of it is um, the PL like all these alliances that have these giant names and have for a while have some corporations that are kind of like allowed to stay in because they're the storied ones. They're the ones that have been around forever, that have been at the forefront of fighting forever, like Evolution and RKK, and there's definitely others. But they're kind of allowed to be something of like a retirement home where people can kind of park their character while they take some time off. And the prestige alone keeps them in a group as
Yeah.
hot on activity as PL is. So what happened? Why did you lose your place in PL?
Well, I don't think that we lost our place in PL. I think it's been an ongoing process in PL for a very long time to get rid of corps that are inactive. And I, for one, think that that's a really good thing, because I always hated, corps that are inactive and being allowed to stay because of, I don't know, history or whatever. Because then it's better to utilize those players that actually are active and bring them into other corporations. So those corporations becomes more active, and you can get more gameplay out of it, and have more fun with it. So for me, it was like, when I was brought to the attention about this, I said that that's fine and dandy, and we have no animosity whatsoever between PL and RKK, or RKK and PL. And I mean, it is what it is. And perhaps when either RKK is rebuilt and is a strong PvP corporation again, or something else happens, I'm fine with both. All I do.
But you were
Yeah.
told basically you guys aren't active enough to be here anymore,
Correct.
and you said that's fine. We'll do something else. And it didn't have anything to do with the new people that you recruited, because you went up from 50 to 70 players or characters.
Yeah, no, it had nothing to do with that. It was more or less that the corporation, we had very low activity for quite some time. I took over after Tricky, which is the main CEO of RKK after Dianabolic. So, and we were struggling before with direction, and we were looking for obtaining more members. But then again, being part of PL, which is a super secure alliance where we look at each member very closely, and we look at each applicant very closely, I think it became a problem recruiting more people into Reikuku, which actually didn't help us getting more PvP activity.
So that's one of the untold stories too, that a corporation actually has a hard time recruiting when they're part, because the standards are so high for these elite, let's call them, alliances. And so corporations often have to leave the alliance to recuperate.
In our
Sorry.
case, yes, very much so.
Yeah. So do you expect to come back to PL if you recuperate, or is that not in the roadmap?
Well, I've been in the game for such a long time, so I'm looking at decades and thinking in decades. So whenever we feel like that we have the member base and we have people that actually want to participate and be part of it, then we might just be that. But in the meantime, I'm really happy for the people that actually found new homes and was allowed into other corporations in PL, because for the most corporations in PL, the corporation isn't the important part. It's PL as alliance that's important. The corporation comes in secondary.
So we'll bring in the New Eden Trade Company now and actually talk about Rikoku and NETC, or NETC as you call it. What is the New Eden Trade Company, and what was your involvement in it?
Well, New Eden Trading Company was an idea brought up by Lenny and myself, that we was gonna litter Eve with the Keepstars to make trade simpler for alliances and for organizations by being a totally unaffiliated entity, which everyone can use, and there's like little to no fees being part of it or using it. We deployed Keepstars in Nornonen, and of course we have the Care for Kids one that are in Myla. and so on and so forth. And our plan was to create a network where you could easily move around in Eve. So, for example, if you're in a small alliance or a small corporation, you can easily, tell one of the marketeers that you need, I don't know, 1 doctrine, 2 doctrines, and so on and so forth. And we supply that to the market hub.
So it's a way to move supplies closer to nullsec.
Yeah.
Right. And what was your involvement?
Well, actually, hashing
Besides
out
knowing the financiers very well.
yeah, hashing out the ideas and the overall planning, because like moving around structures and knowing people and having the right people building it is like really, really hard work. And I did know all the people that were involved, and I had all the ideas of actually deploying it in a really short time. And we deployed about, I don't know, 30, 40 stars and 3-4 keep stars during a 3-month period.
So what's the status of it now? Is it still being built?
Yeah, we kind of have it under. Right now, we're doing the maintenance part of NetC, getting the right people to fuel it, getting the right marketeers to provide the right modules, chips, and so on and so forth, and then also analyzing data from each Keepstar and looking at what's selling, what's not selling, connecting it with other Keepstars. There's the MC Keepstar and Beskarian, and perhaps people want to do trade with Beskarian.
So Mercenary Coalition Alliance has one.
Yeah. And pretty much doing maintenance work. And then, of course, when a Fortisar or a like gets destroyed, we need to replace it, so we do that.
And you also had a Keepstar destroyed by the Imperium in the south, right?
Yeah, correct. In I can't even remember the system name. Somewhere in Durlic.
Yeah, it was right below Poidian. I forget what it's called.
Yeah, yeah, me too.
All right. So was there like a power struggle inside of PL over the, what the NetC was going to do? Because it seemed like there was between what they thought it should do or be and what you guys thought it should do or be.
Well, not that I'm like super aware of. I mean, there might have been people, looking at using it for, I don't know, other purposes. But I mean,
Like what?
NetC
Like what,
has
for
never
instance?
ever.
What would a Keepstar network be used for instance?
Well, I mean, Reddit went like, oh my God, NetC is building a highway for PL and NC to strike anyone, anywhere. And that's not even on the table, because like it's so simple to like deploy Astra houses all over the universe and then just jump to Astra houses and be done with that part. But I mean, if you want to be super,
The difference is, though, you could store. The difference is you could store a super capital fleet in a Keepstar safely.
Oh, you can, yeah, very much so.
So Astra houses allow you to kind of jump, but they don't necessarily allow you to get out of.
Correct. That's always a risk, and I mean, I'm totally aware of that can be considered like a thing, but it also can be used on the Imperium can use it the same way, because you're as easy to use the access of that also. So,
and just to clarify something, NetC is in no way related to the Care for Kids thing.
Not at all.
Isn't the Care for Kids responsible for one of them in Mela, or?
Yeah, it's deployed under well, it's under the Care for Kids Alliance in game. But I mean, it's just part of the network. Like the MC is part of the MC isn't part of NetC, but we can still dock there.
Oh, but you're not managing it.
No, not at all.
With Care for Kids. Oh, okay. So.
No, not at all. It's
I mean, that was built well. That was built well before the.
Yeah.
I don't know if NetC was in the works at the time, but that was
not at all.
Built well before.
Yeah, NetC was invented long after the Keepstar in Mila was built. The Keepstar's Mila is kept there only for memorabilia or memory reasons. I have no other reason to keep it under Care for Kids, so it's just for a good old memory.
Okay, so let's get that straight then. So the Care for Kids with some financing and community support built the Mela Keepstar, and that now belongs to who?
It belongs to me.
It's yours. Okay. And so it's still in Care for Kids.
No, that the character is not. It's like affiliate. It's Care for Kids, but it's like it's so hard to explain because like we just kept the Mila Keepstar there for memory reasons. That it was deployed the first low sec Keepstar.
Right.
But I have like I can't. I don't know, dude. It's just like it can be in whatever corporations. It like matters nothing or very little to me.
But the point is, it belongs to you.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. And PL does or does not trade supers in there?
No, they don't. Well, some do, perhaps players do, but PL doesn't.
It's not anything organized if they do.
No, not at all. PL has always have a well-built logistical and Titan and Super thing through SNIG and a couple of other corporations, so they have no need whatsoever to use or utilize the Mila Keepstar. The people that actually are using the Mila Keepstar is actually more or less random small corporation to mid-size organizations that find it simple to use because they can sell Supers and Titans that they built that they couldn't sell before. It was like hard because they were forced to use a third-party function.
Right. There's a whole thing in Eve where you had to switch money and the items at the same exact time, so you needed a third-party broker to do it. But with a Keepstar, you can actually park the vehicle, get out, collect the money, and give the vehicle over through a contract at the same time. So
Correct.
that negated the need for that type of gameplay or that kind of business. But
Yeah, and I mean, to make a long story short, I mean, for example, like if we're talking about like PLNC slash Imperium, I mean, Imperium could like as easy as PL or NC move, let's say, dreads to a certain location to hit certain targets. And why they don't do that is like beyond me, because that like makes life so simple, and it makes your criticism non-valid.
yeah. So in your care, that Keepstar is part of the network that came after it was built. So you guys dreamed up the network after, and it is part of that.
Correct. Correct.
Okay. So then it doesn't have anything to do with PL necessarily anymore. It has to do with you and Netsi.
Correct.
Okay. So the last round of questions I wanted to get to is something that happened more recently where people saw that the Care for Kids alliance was filled with, and I quote because I don't know if this is true or not, Russian renters and had some SOV given to them. Do you want to explain that?
Well, to make this like understandable, we have to go like 2 years, 3 years back in time.
Let me just say first before you start, let me just say the reason that there's suspicion thrown on this sort of a thing is that Russians in the drone land are known for automating bots and generating money and then selling the money for real money trading, and that's the whole dirty mess that gets into. So that's why it's considered a bad thing. But why don't you explain what actually is going on there?
Well, it's kind of it started when we were looking for space for Care for Kids Alliance, like having a quiet place to do like training and mining and scanning and NPCing and some PvP and stuff. And we were actually given a couple of systems in Malpace by Pfeiffer, and we were starting to live out of those systems. And then
by the way, 1 second. Pfeiffer is from NC.now. He's the CEO of Tropa de Elite. He's also a CSM member. Go ahead.
Yeah, and then we saw we needed more systems, and we started to look. And you also have to remember that this was in the midst of casinos and stuff, so there wasn't any shortage of money really. So we kind of rented systems. We were never given systems in Cobalt Edge. We rented systems in Cobalt Edge and started to live there. We had one corporation joining us, which actually are Russians, and I know their CEO quite well, and they joined us, and they later got kicked from Care for Kids for various reasons. But I mean, one of the reasons were that we were asked to kick them out of Care for Kids, so we did. And besides that, XIX.
Oh, who are the landlords?
Yeah, correct. We're renting all the space from XIX. So
Do you know why they asked you to kick them?
no, I don't ask the questions. I'm just getting told what to do.
When UA asks, you just do.
Yeah, there we go. There we go, my friend. So I mean, besides that, isn't like very much to say about that. I mean, the people that we have up there is people that want to help with Care for Kids and want to help with, everything that we do in game, or if there's anything we do. But then again, it's a very well-rounded place to do other stuff, and we do. It's a quiet place to do like mining and shit, and that's what we do up there.
Do you wish that well, here, let me just ask this. Was naming the alliance the Care for Kids Alliance?
That was the dumbest thing I ever done.
Thank you. Okay. So you agree that it was a mistake because it created a convoluted situation and whatnot.
Yeah.
But now it's now it's in some ways water under the bridge. I mean, I don't know. Maybe maybe going forward to remove that, it might just be smarter to start another alliance.
Yeah.
To like get that out, because I mean, I do think that it was a mistake, and I think it was a mistake because of kind of the optics that it made.
Yeah, I mean, when I created it, it was like, in the middle of the evening, and we were like, oh, let's create Care for Kids Alliance. And that's, the decision, because I make, decisions on the tip of the hat, or whatever it's called. So it was a mistake, and it was a really big mistake. And it was like, it brought a lot of animosity around, Care for Kids that could have been avoided. But as I said before, I have never ever done this before. And it's something that it's a learning curve for me also. But I mean, if I could like petition it to CCP and go like, oh, can you change the name of Care for Kids Alliance to, I don't know, We Love Dirk Alliance, I would do that, instantly, my friend.
So there's no Russian botting creating wealth that's supposed to be used for kids, but is being funneled into your pocket.
No, not at all, dude.
Yeah. All right. That's kind of the insinuations that get thrown out there, but you're denying that any of that is happening.
Well, I don't need ISK. Let's just make that very clear.
Yeah, you've been around since 2003 in many alliances that have helped you generate funds. So you're pretty well off, and you have very rich friends, even if they're not in the game.
Correct.
Well,
I think that this has been the problem. It's really been the thing. I mean, Matterall, you and I have had a number of conversations over this. A lot of the things that were being said out there were very cringy as far as I was concerned. Because again, we have this tendency, in EVE to take kind of the internal game happenings and then really go after people in a very personal way, and try and pick apart these things. And we've had these conversations where it's like, this needs to be cleared up, because when somebody, whether it be the Mittani or anybody else, gets out there and really starts throwing out these allegations, where they have no proof, but it's easy to do, right? I mean, we live in a world of alternative facts and fake news now. So, and EVE, and that's the real world. EVE was always known for that. EVE was always known for that. Which is why I think it was important to have C4 on today to try and put some of this information out there, to at least try and discuss what was going on. Because in EVE we do have these things. I mean, if people were out there saying the same thing about, say, I don't know, Jay McLean's group, Best of Us, or anything that is like that, the spam for heels type stuff and broadcast for reps. We know that scams happen. We know that things happen that take advantage of people and are scams and trolls and lies and things like that. But when it's said too often about something that probably isn't, I mean, and again, short of having a sick kid rolled up on stage, or a doctor from a hospital or something like that saying this operation really is going on, there wasn't a whole lot you could do other than take people's word for it.
Yeah. Pretty poignant. And that's kind of what is unfortunate about EVE too. So when we say the community is very generous, they're also very suspicious. and things get out of hand pretty fast. And so now we're at a point where they're having burnt JITA for kids because they want to play with the acronym BJ for kids, and that's funny, and it's very much in the character of Goons to do that sort of thing. Just never forget that at the heart of it is actually something real. It doesn't mean you can't be irreverent and have that kind of humor, but just keep in mind of you're casting suspicion on something that may be good.
I want to quick answer something that Dismafug had said in chat. Dirk McGurk, it does look bad. You have to see that this charity that everyone should leave alone is building a network across all of Eve that can be used by our enemies to dock Titan supers and range our areas. Number one, the charity is not building anything that never have I ever heard. Okay. This particular group, Care for Kids, okay, nor the New Eden Trade network or anything like that, or anything, try and claim some sort of charity shield. When C4 and them first built that Keepstar in Mila, okay, on my show, he said, attack it, come at it, attack it, it's content. Never has there been the idea of a charity shield with this. And that goes back to the question I was saying before, was it a mistake to name the alliance Care for Kids? Because that, like, the whole thing has been made out there that, oh, it's trying to gain some sort of shield from this. Never have I heard that they were trying to claim, don't attack us, we're a charity. And when you're talking about an in-game charity, okay, which again, air quote in-game charity, because it's not like they file with the government, of something in Eve. You're free to attack anything. There's nothing out there that gets any kind of shield, not from CCP and not from any of the rest of us. There was another group when Citadels first came out.
Right.
There was another group that was talking about creating a charity citadel somewhere around Jeddah or whatever. And really sounding much more like wanting a charity shield. And we had multiple conversations on air and elsewhere about the rise of the charity shield, and the fact that we can never let that happen. There is no charity in this game. You know what? Attack Mike Azariah's big giant ship hauling stuff.
Oh, well, can people attack memorial fleets? Is that fine?
You can do whatever you want in game. It's clearly stated by CCP Falcon that any in-game thing isn't to be covered by anything called a charity shield, because that's a bannable offense.
Yep.
So,
and therefore I should get banned if I use that as a shield, and we never ever done that. We, the amount of emails I written to CCP asking questions, how should I do this, how should I do that? And I mean, as Dirk raises the most valid question of them all. Was it a mistake to call Care for Kids Alliance a Care for Kids Alliance? Yes, it was. It was a really big mistake, and I had no clue that it would transcribe into this by far. But I mean, now it is what it is. And I mean, if it makes people happy, I can petition it to CCP and call it I Love Dirk Alliance, because to us, it means little to nothing. It has, same goes with the people that's screaming, oh my God, you're affiliated to PL. But I mean, we can't be, because RKK aren't in PL anymore, if that's the case. You know what I'm saying?
right.
So
but those relationships are all still there. Your relationship with Iwan Isk and money, your relationship with PL and their power, those are intact, I take it, unless you're not talking to these people anymore.
No, of course. I mean, friendship is always friendship. But I mean, on that note, I mean, it should make you super scared, me being friends with some of the, major FCs in, Goonswarm. Wouldn't that be a goddamn problem? But I mean, we meet up and have fun, and we hang out and stuff, and there's like no problem. It's a little bit like that, when people go like, oh my God, this is a bad thing. I mean, for example, like, people bashing NetC. I mean, every single pilot in Eve can use it for whatever purposes they want. We have no rule sets about that, as long as you don't shoot it. If you shoot it, you get banned from it for 7 days, and then the ban gets removed. But I mean, if you feel like attacking NetC structures, feel free to do that, because as I said, we just replaced them. So I don't know, if you want to spend 3 hours shooting a citadel, go ahead, do it.
Right. So are you going to petition CCP to change the name, or are you comfortable with the name as it is?
No, I can do that. I can do that. And I can even, ask them if it's okay to share the information, which I'm a little bit uncertain if I'm allowed to do, but I'll ask for sure.
Well, it's not a request that I'm making. I just meant like,
No, I'm saying that I have no problems whatsoever doing that.
Right. Well, Dirk, do you have any other questions? It seems like the chat just finally came alive in the last 5 minutes of the show.
But yeah, I mean, do I have more questions? I don't actually have more questions. But I know that people, again, people want to pick at each little piece of this as though there's some nefarious giant plot going on, and part of that is because of the hell that was raised, on various episodes of the Meta Show, calling out everything into question on this and making all of these linkages. I mean, the fact of the matter is that what we have here, right, is something that started off very basic years ago. Okay. And mistakes were made along the way, and and things like that. But I don't think there's some big giant conspiracy here, people. There's not. I mean, again, you've got to separate the trade network out there, which is completely different. People in this game have their hands in multiple things. Some people are involved in more than just one thing. um if you think that this is an attempt at creating a charity shield, I think you're just wrong, because 3 years ago, when I first met this guy, okay, he basically said that, I'm going to paraphrase here to some extent because I don't remember the exact conversation, but it, the kids are looking for content. So, they have no problem being shot at. I mean, there's no charity shield here. And there's no connection other than these, sort of like dotted lines that, yes, when they built the Keepstar in Mila, it was for, it was to build a Keepstar in Mila. It was a cool thing to do, right? And then when this network came around, it became part of the network. But the network is actually a fallout of where CCP has taken this game. That somebody out there has now taken their mechanics and taken what they've put into the game to create this thing that couldn't really exist before. And yes, some of the same people who were involved with that were also involved with casinos. That does not make the whole thing wrong.
I think if you look at it, it just looks like an upper strata of EVE players who've been here a long, long time, have been very visible for a long, long time, that know each other. And that's why you get so much interconnectivity of relationships. And there really is two sides to this historically. There's the more insulated Imperium side of it, and then you have kind of everybody else. These people at this age, if you've been playing this game for 10 years, you know some people, especially if you've been playing it at a high level. So it makes sense that these are all related through people, because the game is very personal. That's what we started with. A community is what makes up EVE.
Yeah. And again, just what I'm saying, even if it wasn't the intention, they were benefiting from a passive charity shield. Number one, if I choose not to attack somebody because I like them, okay, what do they have? Some sort of passive shield? No, it's just go out and attack whoever the hell you want. Nobody's going to scream at you because you decided to attack a memorial fleet, or because, well, I mean,
Well, that's not true.
Some people might, right? Some people might, but they're also going to bitch about anything. So I don't know. I mean, there is no such thing as a charity shield in EVE, but if you choose to attack them or you choose not to attack them, it's just all part of EVE.
Yep, totally. And I mean, I can make a really good, comparison here, because I was approached when we actually built the Mila Keepstar. I was approached by a couple of dudes in PL saying that, oh, this might be a conflict of interest in the future. We have like no intention of hitting it now, but if we have little to nothing to do, this could be a thing. And I was perfectly fine by that. This is EVE, and you can shoot whatever the hell you want, and that's all peachy and dandy. And that's the part I think that people don't get. And it's sad because it creates content, and we don't have any content in EVE right now.
So please shoot us.
Yeah, shoot us, shoot whatever. I mean, I would personally go invade Goonswarm.
Well,
but that's just me.
so Boat was right when he attacks a memorial fleet that nothing's sacred. You can attack anything in the game. And I think the next time, and the reverse of it, so he took a lot of heat for that, and he shouldn't have. On the reverse of that,
Well, hold on a second. Hold on. I don't know that he took flack for hitting a memorial fleet. Now, quite honestly, what is the point of a memorial fleet? Isn't it to go out and shoot stuff?
Yeah, it
Or
is.
or is it just a parade? I'm not sure, but as far as I recall, the real flack that Boat took for that were the accusations that he had internal spies in it, and he was using
Yeah,
that
yeah.
to do it, as opposed to just attacking it.
I don't think there's a distinction because you
I
use spies and fleets all
There
the
is
time.
there no
I know.
there is
Is that-
there
is
is
there?
there is a big difference between, I mean, you can either go after a memorial fleet or whatever, and fuck with them. But I mean, it gets to a point where if you have like spies in a fleet and you go after them and you know exactly what to do, just to kill them and just to spite them, that's a little bit, if someone says that that's like a bad thing, they are entitled to think that. But me personally, I mean, Eve is Eve, and Eve has always been like a really cruel place where you can lose everything, just
Isn't
by
it, isn't it
turning
great?
your. It is the best. Why do you think I've almost played it for like 15 years soon?
Yeah, it's such a cruel and
Yeah.
deliciously dark place.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm totally fine with everything that goes on in Eve, and I mean, but it's really hard for me to like stand on the sideline and say that, hey, I just want to tell you that you have to separate me from, let's say, Ray Cuckoo, or separate me from NetC, or separate me from controlling the purple market in Jita just because I can and think it's fun. I mean, I'm just one person, and I can't, like, I don't know, divide myself into more people.
All right, I want to take this just
Yeah.
just up a notch to the out of game entity. Okay, the real life entity that acts as a form of charity under the umbrella of the Lutheran Church organization, right?
Correct.
Okay, what are you on your website asking for donations, or if somebody, are you asking for donations anywhere, and is the website in compliance with various laws out there, where if you are claiming to be a registered charity, even if it's registered under this other umbrella, right? It,
Yeah, everything follows the lid, whatever it's called, the
so
laws.
like when donations have been made to this in the form of is it in the form of money, is it in the form of hardware, are these people donating and it's then going through this this charity that is, again, under there is not a Care for Kids charity registered with any government, right?
No, it's registered under my name. In Sweden, it works this way: you can't register a charity as a charity. Either you register it as a company, like a not a profit making, like a non-profit company, or you register it as a, in Sweden it's called ideell organisation, and it's like a where you don't have to do like taxes and shit. It's really hard to explain to American, but because we wanted to avoid that, we used our local church to once again keep the transparency open, and to utilize their knowledge about charity, because they handle hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and I handle a couple of packages of candy. Do you see the difference here?
Yeah. Okay,
So
so
that's what I'm
okay,
doing.
so as far as the transparency goes, I mean, is there a way of I mean, if somebody was out there, I mean, like the guy who's giving $20,000, I mean, I take it that he has the ability to see something regarding the legitimacy of the charitable organization.
Oh, of course, his lawyer has been in contact with me, and also with the manager of finances, and so on and so forth. I mean, everything will become a little bit clearer when I find a smart way of actually, I don't know if I send it to you or Matterall or whoever, But I mean, the person that are donating it want to stay anonymous for various reasons, and I respect that. And how to keep that in proof? If I like send it to Matterall and he promised not to share it, because if he does, I'm gonna travel to his land and torture him with a pony. And
I would believe it.
yeah, you would fucking do that, dude. No, I'm not kidding, dude. I'm trying to find a way to actually make this like so there is no doubt whatsoever. And if that would be to share this information in some way, I mean, perhaps you guys have a good idea.
Well, transparency always helps. I think if you put out, this is the donations we've gotten, this is where the money went, this is the donations we've gotten, this is where the money went for in-game and out of game, and show that they're totally separate, maybe, or something along those lines. Transparency helps a lot, and that's how I would suggest.
Well, in game, look,
forget in-game.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sorry. We don't ask Mike Azariah to put forth his in-game income tax returns to prove where things are coming from. I mean, this again, we have to be able to separate the in-game from the out of game, and the website itself is. There's no button on the website that's asking for money, right?
Nope.
Speaking of donations, by the way, we just got one from this Mafugga.
This Mafugga.
This Mafugga, but okay. And thank you very much for that donation. Also,
that's also one thing that kind of brings things together a little bit with the media, donations and so on and so forth. I mean, you have a problem there, either if you're running a some sort of media or like a Twitch stream like Dirk and so on and so forth, where I mean a lot of people are depending on donations and a lot of people are depending on other stuff. But I mean, we as an entity in game, we made the decision that not to take any donations whatsoever in game, to become as transparent as possible. We don't accept any donations in game, we don't accept any gifts in game, and we don't accept any favors in game, because we don't need it. CCP introduced Alpha Clone, and besides that, when the person has gotten as far, we can easily make that person self-sufficient. When it comes to out of game donations to Care for Kids, we have never ever asked for donations to anything. Well, I did do a GoFundMe at one point and got like $200 or something, or $100 for.
Should try Kickstarter.
Yeah, exactly. Make a book, or I don't know, do something.
You could try.
Yeah, actually, I would probably make that work, dude, because I'm like talented that way. But nevertheless, we don't ask for that. And with that being said, if someone wants to donate, they normally approach me. And for example, like Drekla said, that I've been looking into Care for Kids, and we talked on the phone, I don't know how many times, like before his company made the donation to Care for Kids. And same goes with G Fleet. They made quite a lot of inquiries about the organization, and they made a lot of inquiries about our legitimacy and whatever. And I mean, that's what everyone does. It's like nothing strange there.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll wrap up the show. We're a little bit over, but the conversation was going great, so I didn't want to stop it. It still is, but at some point we have to call it quits. I did want to say that it seemed like I was listening to podcasts, as I normally do, and the Jeff Rader podcast came on, and somewhere in the middle, your Care for Kids was brought up, and there was a lot of like sighing about how disappointed they were that it appeared that there were Russian renters in the alliance, and what had become of you, and that sort of stuff. So at that point, I thought, well, you have PL and Imperium kind of agreeing, so we needed to have you on the show so that you could give your version of events and clear things up, which I think you did. For people who have just joined us in the last 15 minutes, there's a whole show that answers a lot of the questions that you have now. So you can go ahead and review that. But I want to thank you for making some time for us and to, and actually doing the kind of stuff that you do, if it's legitimate.
Yeah, if it is.
It is. I think you can tell by a lot of the pictures that you have, on site. By the way, who's built your website? Because it looks outdated and not outdated.
Yeah, it is very outdated. Actually, Dreklas that donated the laptops is revamping the WordPress, because I don't have the time. Because for the first time in 3 years after being sick, I actually started to work out of office. So I do daytime travel by flying to Stockholm and then back home.
Hmm.
And with 5 kids, it's like hard work, and then care for kids within this. So hopefully I get like a less Eve Care for Kids website up running soon, with all the information that's needed, and also some cool videos and stuff. But I mean, I'm only one person, and it's hard to do everything my own.
Yeah. Well, it looks like somebody donated their time earlier, but they're no longer donating their time because it was built by Aderix, I think, who was also banned from Eve. So you have some pretty shady connections, but I suppose the same could be said about me.
Yeah, exactly. I was just about to say that, my friend. But then again, I mean, the entire band thing, it's like an entire show by itself, I guess.
Yeah. Sorry, I was coughing. I couldn't hear that, but
No, I said the entire thing with bannings and casinos and all that jazz. I mean, that's the entire show by itself, I guess.
it totally is, and we should cover that. I want to do a retrospective on it since I did so much research on it to begin with. But real quick, what do you think about that? Is it a good thing or bad thing?
I think banning the casinos themselves, or the concept of doing that, is a good thing, definitely for CCP, since it is a shady business that are very hard to control and very easy to cover up. I would say that did it affect the in-game aspect of it? To a certain extent, yes. Was it a bad thing for Eve as a concept? No, it was a good thing because it created content. If you were part of the Imperium, it was like a bad thing because we, kicked you out of the North. But I mean, overall, did it create content? Yes, it did. I don't know, dude. It's just that as a casino or as a concept, it's a good thing because it brings a lot of bad things into the game, like
Yeah.
any other game, WoW or Dota or whatever.
Right. And you can tell that it was a problem because people are so like depressed after the money's gone.
Yeah,
Like,
they are. I mean, just look at the game right now, my friend. You guys are living down south. We are living up north, and nothing is really happening. PL is poking Brave a little bit, and I don't know. Imperium is like doing nothing besides mining, and yeah.
Well,
That's
I'm
where we
actually,
are. It's a sad thing, bro. It really is, because I like the PvP aspect, and I want to see, clash heads, and I carry no animosity against like Imperium or anyone. I mean, as long as I can PvP, and unfortunately, it brought us to a point where people were like, after the casinos were gone, people were like asking for like hundreds of billions, for like taking contracts and stuff, and I said like, oh, dude, those days are long gone. And it is it is for sure.
yeah, it's a new world as far as what people can pay.
Yeah, but you should definitely do a secondary show on like all the detective work or whatever you did, and all the digging, and actually do something about that, because that would be super interesting.
Yeah. Well, maybe we will. Dirk, join me for that one. Well, thanks very much. We have just a few announcements.
Is this the moment where I pay you for being on the
Yeah.
show?
Yeah,
Sure.
you weren't supposed to say that till we cut, and then
Oh, sorry.
then the money gets transferred over.
You can send it to Matterall's charity, Care for Matterall.
Care for Matterall. It's
Yeah.
cold care for Matterall.
Cold Care for Matterall.
All right.
Yeah,
The Matterall cough syrup fund.
yeah, what's that cough syrup called with the morphine in it that
Oh.
fucks people up?
I don't know, but I like it.
There
NyQuil.
we go.
I don't know.
Yeah, there we go. Something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I wanted to just let you know that if you're listening to the podcast of this, we have a Patreon for support, and that is Patreon/Metro. You can always donate to the station while we're on, and we did get a donation from this motherfucker. I'm afraid to say it wrong because it's obscene, but
You just hooked on phonics with it, man. Don't
Yeah.
don't say what you think it is. Just read.
Exactly. Thanks for tricking me. And thank you for the donation. And also hit the subscribe button, hit the follow button, and do that with every streamer that you see on TMC streaming or INN streaming, because that helps quite a bit. And also I want to thank, I'm not going to say it, but the Bernjita people who donated some money as well. Thanks very much. And also want to say that if you look at imperium.news.
Hold on. Was it Bernjita for kids? Is that what you didn't want to say? Look, we have to be able to separate. Okay.
Well, it was the acronym.
No, okay. We have to be able to separate joking about things, all right, and being serious. Okay. When you make a serious allegation, then we have to take it, take it seriously, right? But it doesn't mean that people can't joke about stuff out there. If we take away the right of people to joke, even about serious things, then so I don't have a problem with that if they want to do that. But when they also say next to it, scam, sham, all this kind of stuff, that's where we have to actually draw the line and begin to look at these things and actually talk to the people that are involved.
Right. Can't take it on face value. I do want to plug one of our writers, Sophia Elizabeth, actually is writing some fiction for the site, imperium.news. That fiction can also be seen on Amazon, which is great. And she's on chapter 3. So look out for that series. Yeah, so anything else? Any other things you want to plug? Things you want to talk about?
I wrote some fiction. My first article in I don't know, I think it was since 2015 or something like that. But
that wasn't fiction.
No, well, I don't know. You know what it was? It was just sort of it's about the CSM. It's about what I think about, certain things about the CSM and stuff like that. And that's all it was. It was just man, I don't know. Maybe I just need to put this down. So I'm not going to talk about it since I spent all that time, just throwing words at the screen. But
no, it's great. You should read that article and, make some comments on there. It's a very interesting
crap all
read.
over it. That's why
I've read it. It's a good read. Yeah, last thing I want to say is tomorrow there may be, I'm not completely confirmed on this, a big Roman syndicate. So take your people over there. I believe it's going to happen.
I could have swore you said Roman syndicate. I'm like, what the hell is a Roman syndicate? Oh, a Rome-in syndicate.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of FCs taking their fleets to syndicate tomorrow, Sunday at 1800. That's put together by ProGod, who's actually becoming a streamer. It'll be very interesting to watch him. And a lot of other FCs will be streaming at the same time. So you're going to have that battle and the battles that happen in that area streamed. And also, if you're in a fleet, you should get down there and have some fun. All right, guys. I want to thank UC4 once again for showing up. Really appreciate it.
Yep, no worries. Have a great evening or day or whatever.
It's morning, yeah.
Thanks for having me. And get better, get well.
Thank you, you too. And actually, it looks like you will.
Yep.
And
see you.
Yeah, Dirk, thanks for coming early in the morning after a big show last night. Is it hard to get up this early?
it's you know what? On a normal day, I'm getting old. It's just hard to get up. But yes, Saturday mornings are a little, a little hard. I do it to myself.
Right. Well, thanks very much to McLeod as well, who actually produces the show. And we have a new audio producer. And I don't have his name with me, but I will thank him next time as well, who's going to actually clean up the audio for us. He's very good. He's much better than me. So thanks for that. Thanks, everyone, for coming this early. And we really appreciate it. We will see you next week on Talking in Stations.
mo fa se da